Did you guys catch that Ariana Grande concert yesterday? I heard she really bombed. But then again, some people disagree. They say her performance was explosive and really tore down the house. Told that joke on Twitter. A lot of people got pretty upset with me. They asked me, TJ, what goes through your head when you make jokes like that? What goes through my head? Well, shrapnel. Oh, no, wait, I'm thinking of the victims. Anyway, in case you've been under a rock, some asshole, most likely a Muslim extremist, although it could have been a radical Selena Gomez supporter, bombed a concert venue in Manchester last night right after an Ariana Grande performance. And if you make even the most innocuous joke about it, you'll get this really heartfelt speech from someone about how the bodies aren't even cold yet. You're making jokes and the bodies, they aren't even cold. I don't know about you guys, but I'm just about sick of all this too soon bullshit that happens when anyone tries to make a joke about a tragedy. It reminds me of Gilbert Gottfried, who got fired from his long gig as the Aflac Duck after he made some off-color jokes about the tsunami in Japan as it was happening. For those who don't recall, during the Japanese tsunami that caused the deaths of 15,894 people, Gilbert Gottfried told a bunch of offensive jokes, my favorite of which was, Japan is really advanced. They don't go to the beach comes to them. And that would be 10 times as funny if I could say it in Gilbert Gottfried's voice, but I don't have that ability. Sorry. Anyway, a bunch of crybabies got mad at him like he was the one who caused the tsunami. And this is really just a form of virtue signaling. This is really just some people's way of letting us know that they're so morally pure and so deeply empathetic that they won't even tolerate the least little bit of levity in times like this. Anyone who dares tell a joke in a time of tragedy is obviously a monster who approves of the tragedy somehow. I even had a couple people come to me and say, you're hurting the victims. The victims don't need you making jokes at their expense. I'm thinking, yeah, because some girl that just got her fucking leg blown off by a radical Islamist is fucking glued to my Twitter, obsessing over my every fucking word. And as soon as they see that I was so callous as to make a bomb pun, that's just the final fucking straw. I didn't think this night could get any worse, but now this? Jokes? I mean, that's not what these people are fucking concerned about. Don't act like this is hurting the fucking victims. I think these people just don't really want to admit how powerless they are at times like this. And so they find someone else to focus on or something else or somewhere else to focus their fucking energy. And, some people go in outright denial and claim that whatever bad thing that just happened was a big false flag event. No one's really dead. This is just part of an Illuminati fucking plot to control us. This is the globalists. A lot of people pray. That's a really popular one. Probably the most popular one, praying. Something really horrible happens, so let's clasp our fucking hands together and talk about it with our imaginary friend God, who, if he was real, allowed this shit to happen in the fucking first place. A lot of people try to deal with it by making it about some kind of hot-button political issue, People attacking or defending Islam, people supporting or attacking guns or feminism or homosexuality or, whatever issue they could possibly tie to whatever the latest big trending tragedy is. Some people just stare at the fucking event, just transfixed like zombies. That song, Vicarious by Tool? Stare like a zombie into the TV because tragedy thrills me. It's that shit. They just treat it like it's nothing more than a fucking pageant that's being put on for them. And of course, CNN and the BBC and all the other big media outlets get to run, all their ads all over it, Coming up next, we talked to a woman who saw all the carnage and is willing to explain it in explicit detail. But first, here's a commercial for car insurance and weight loss supplements and fucking cheeseburgers and shit. And some people they make jokes about the tragedy, whatever it is, whatever the newest tragedy is. Like right now, it's this fucking Manchester shit, but tomorrow it'll be something else, or in a week from now it'll be something else. And some people attack the people making jokes, or they attack the people for having the wrong political opinion, or for striking the wrong tone, or for saying something that was insensitive. And it's all just part of this big clusterfuck of reactions from people who really just fundamentally are disempowered. Because, look, none of us has the fucking power to undo what's been done. None of us has the power to put the pieces of destroyed human bodies back together. None of us has the power to reach into the hearts and minds of human beings who do heinous acts of violence like this Manchester bombing and convince them that what they're doing is wrong. All any of us can do is just cope with it in our own way, cope against the fucking tides of death and pain that just wash over this planet every single day. So, to me, telling a joke is my way of dealing with that powerlessness, and I make no apologies for it. Those who are upset by this stance, I just don't even know what are you watching this for? What are you listening to me for in the fucking first place? All I can say to all the people out there is that the words that you speak or that I speak, they really don't mean much. Actions are of much greater consequence. If there's a relief organization that's helping people, then volunteer your time or volunteer your money. Other than that, nothing you do really fucking matters. It's just your coping mechanism. It's nothing more. It's nothing less. But I know that for many of you, there's no coping mechanism that's needed. You take a wider view of the world and you realize that the tragedy of life is so much bigger than any one big flashy event. And for some of you, you're numb to it, or maybe you're just one of these people that's lucky enough to just be a genuine total sociopath, and you just don't have it within you to fucking care. Honestly, I kind of envy that. I wish that I could just detach myself from the world to that extent. To some extent, that's what I've always wanted. But for me, pointless tragedies like this are, I don't even know why I call it a pointless tragedy, because all these tragedies are pointless. None of this should happen. None of this pain, none of this death, none of this, families mourning for lost loved ones. I have to find humor in it somewhere, because I don't want to feel powerless. Even if that's what the truth is, even if the truth is that I'm powerless, I have to have some sort of wall between me and that truth. I want to feel like there's something I can do in this kind of situation, even if it's just crack a joke that makes one person laugh and another person just get insanely pissed off. I think either reaction is just as valid, and maybe more importantly, from my egotistical perspective, just as validating. But at the end of the day, I see that making a joke or saying a prayer or staying glued to the TV or fighting some hot-button political battle, it's all just us fighting against our own fundamental uselessness in the face of pain and in the face of death and the people and forces that want to bring pain and death into our lives. And I also understand that those who get upset about the coping mechanisms of others are really just engaged in their own coping mechanism. They can't affect positive change against the forces of tragedy, so they instead attempt to police the reactions of others. And the fucked up thing is, if I tried to stop them from doing that, I would inherently become one of them. Which, what a fucking catch-22 that fucking is. But I think we should all remember that almost all of us, if we were given the power to free the world from cruelty, from tragedy, from pain, from suffering, from mourning, most of us would use that power in a heartbeat. These people who are at each other's throats about politics or tone or faith or whatever, all of us fundamentally want the same thing. A world where shit like this simply does not happen. But because that result seems just completely impossible, it's easy to ignore this commonality that we are all share. It's easy to become frustrated with one another. It's easy to see someone else as being so obtuse and to see yourself as being so fucking enlightened. But that's self-deception. And it's a self-deception that I engage in and you engage in and we all engage in. And anyone who says they don't fucking engage in it is a goddamn lying sack of shit. Or they just don't even, they lack the self-awareness to realize it. Because the reality of admitting powerlessness and acting accordingly is really completely contrary to the human spirit, because we fundamentally desire the ability to control our world. But our desire to control the world has not brought us much closer to actually having the ability to control this world. Because no matter how much we desire a world where no one blows up a bunch of teenagers just trying to have fun at a fucking concert, all it takes, everybody, is one psychotic asshole to just blow that dream to fucking smithereens. All it takes is one act of evil to destroy everyone else's desire for good. And the fucked up thing is that it's likely that whoever did this Manchester bombing believed they were the good guy. In their own internal narrative, what they did was probably heroic. And they died believing that about themselves, that they were a fucking hero. And there's really no objective standard with which we can contradict them. All we really have is our anemic and worthless ability to disagree with their perception, which doesn't change the fact of what happened. Doesn't change it at all. People are still dead. Lives are still ruined. And it'll happen again tomorrow, and the next day, and the next, because tragedy really isn't an event. Tragedy is the fucking human condition. That's how I see it. I view every single day of this existence as an exercise in tragedy. And I see a great deal of tragedy in the totality of the human condition. So my response, personally, is to laugh. Maybe your response is to condemn my laughter. And honestly, one is just as valid as the other, in my opinion, which you're free to disagree with, if you so choose. I'm sorry if this is a rambling mess. I hope that somewhere within it I said something that resonated with you. Because that's what this is all about, really. It's about connecting. It's about interacting. It's about finding ways to communicate with each other, even if that communication is just a fuck you. Because the person saying fuck you and the person getting fuck you said to them, those two people, in all likelihood, are more alike than either of them imagine. And for my money, maybe that's the biggest tragedy of all, which, once again, is why I can't help but laugh. We're in this fucking ridiculous predicament together. And instead of working together to try to solve it, we're way more interested in being divisive. We're way more interested in finding ways to be at each other's throats and to blame someone else for the way the world is and to try to exonerate ourselves from our own culpability in the shittiness of affairs. And, to a large extent, we are innocent. We don't have the ability to micromanage this world, and like I said, even if 99% of the population were all on the same page and we all just said, look, this is the perfect peace that we've all gotten together and we believe in, all it takes is 1% of the population to say, nope, fuck that, we're just going to blow shit up. And it's impossible to stop them. It's impossible. Maybe it's not completely impossible, but it's goddamn near. And of course, tragedies don't just come from human beings. They also come from natural disasters and just from the facts of life, the fact that, you know, a child can get cancer and slowly wither away. You know, any number of horrible things can just happen inherently in this world, and there's nothing that we can really do about it. So yeah, this is a pretty bleak, fucking depressing video about humor and jokes. But I guess that's just what you get when you fucking get me rambling at 3 o'clock in the morning.